I'd like to go ahead and call the Osceola County School Board meeting of Tuesday, May 21st, 2019 to order. We begin each of our meetings with a invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Dr. Nia Campbell, Principal of OHS, followed by the mission statement, which will be read by Tony Rapanisi. Thank you. No, and our translation services, there, Avira from our multicultural department. And did the invocation? Do you mind doing the invocation?
Oh, he's in here?
Yeah. Sure. Can you do that? And school board member Ricky Booth will do our invocation. So if you please silence your phones and rise.
If you bow with me, please. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today and we ask for guidance here. We know we have a lot of community members here today interested in what's going on here in the school district of Osceola County. I ask that you guide their thoughts, their prayers, their words. I ask that you guide our thoughts and our words and give us wisdom here today. And in your Son's name I pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I knew how to say your name.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Thanks for the help.
Oh.
Thank you for the help.
Our invocation person wasn't here. I was trying to cue him up. Thank you.
Thank you. Inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
I am Naira Alvira and I am here to provide interpretation services. Soy Naira Alvira y estoy aquí para proveer servicio de interpretación.
Thank you. Bring us to our board comments. Mr. Booth, do you have any today?
Sure. I'd say was at the legislative luncheon earlier today, just a minute ago. Just wanted to say thank you to the Florida Chamber Foundation for touting our graduation rates and showing the community how good they were. So we appreciate them. They spread that information all across the state. So thank you to the Florida Chamber Foundation. I'd just like to say one other thing. Board, I'm extremely proud to serve on this board with you, a board that's fully capable of handling anything that comes before us. And I know there were comments made by some other folks this morning, but I know, being here for 5+ years now, that this is a board capable of dealing with anything that's put in front of it. So thank you for all your service as well.
Thank you. Mr. Soto?
I don't have anything.
Yes, I do have a few comments.
Okay.
So first of all, I just wanted to say that I had the privilege of attending the OTEC and ALCO graduation last night along with Mr. Soto, and I really enjoyed celebrating that amazing accomplishment with our students and our teachers. And I also like to recognize Liana Santos and Jasairas Vera from Toho High. They actually placed second out of 750 entries as part of the Central Florida Annual Arts Guide contest, so I wanted to make sure we recognize them. So if you know them, please recognize them. Thank you.
Dr. Pace?
Other than to say that our graduations continue tonight, so we do appreciate everybody understanding the need for an early board meeting. Tonight will be the Zenith and Osceola Virtual School, and then we have OXA tomorrow, and then 3 on Thursday, 3 on Friday, and 3 on Saturday. So exciting times for all of our seniors, recognizing their work and the amazing work of both our teachers and staff and our principals and parents and family members who helped them get them to this important milestone in their journey. So.
Thank you. And I just want to recap today's event so far. We started out this morning at 8 o'clock with a workshop here with the county manager and the chairman of the county commission, along with the sheriff and the 2 city managers and the 2 mayors from Kissimmee and St. Cloud, as well as the 2 police chiefs, where we had a pretty good discussion on school safety and school board's position and thoughts on that, as well as the thoughts and expectations from the county and the two cities. So I know there's a good many of you here for that. I just want to make sure you were aware that we've already had some discussions on that this morning, and we look forward to further on that this afternoon. Brings us to our presentation portion. First presentation is State Outstanding School Volunteer Award. Ms. Schaefer, you're going to lead that.
Good afternoon. Robin Davis and I are so very pleased to be back in front of you tonight, as we were this past February, presenting our 3 district Outstanding School Volunteer Award winners for this school year. We have very exciting news to share. Would Dr. Pace and Chairman Thacker please join us down front, as well as Osceola High School Principal Dr. Campbell. And I'd like to ask Justin Funes, our Student Volunteer of the Year, to please come forward. It is my pleasure to announce that the Florida Department of Education has also selected Justin as one of its 2018-2019 Outstanding School Volunteer Award winners for the state of Florida. They did so in recognition of his contribution to the academic success of students and for his commitment to fostering a positive learning environment. If you remember, Justin helps out with the Osceola High School's advanced culinary classes. This state award speaks to the considerable difference he has made at the school. Justin, once again, we thank you for your exceptional volunteer service and for your commitment to helping Osceola High School students soar. Thank you very much.
There were still people there.
You don't have to walk back now. Oh, you're going down.
Okay. Our next presentation, Leslie Campbell, on the recognition of Delta Dental donations.
Thank you. As you all are aware, we have an exceptional community with very generous giving hearts, and the connections we make with a lot of people along the way just keeps coming and giving back to our students. Delta Dental got together at their association meeting, and all the members of Delta Dental had a packing event where they partnered with Blessings in a Backpack, and they packed 1,000 backpacks with 7 items of school supplies and donated them to us, the Poinciana Parent Center, for Deerwood and some other schools out in the Poinciana area. I find it interesting because, Mr. Soto, thank you very much. It started with you, and you had a friend who knew a friend who knew a friend, and this went through about 6 different chains of people to ultimately come to this recognition for Delta Dental that did this for us. So I'd like to call up Mr. George Dappas, who is Director of Sales for Delta Dental in Florida, and Mr. Michael Maynor, who is the Vice President of Sales for the region. I have a plaque for you guys, and it's with our greatest appreciation, we hereby present Delta Dental for your support, generosity, and willingness to give back to the children of Osceola County. Thank you so much. We're so appreciative.
Thank you so much for your generosity. We appreciate it. But you go ahead and then.
I'd like first to give them an opportunity to make a statement. Sure.
Dr. Pace, thank you. Chairman Thacker, Vice Chairman Soto, Ms. Campbell, we are honored to have the opportunity to come in and receive this recognition, and we've been honored to be a partner with Osceola School Districts and providing dental insurance for your employees and their family members for the past 2 years. and we're very excited to continue that partnership on forward. Would also like to take a moment to recognize Ms. Osceola Lopez Rodriguez, who with her team helped coordinate everything that we did. And it's quite an honor to be able to give back to the community. Our Community Care Foundation has awarded over $1.2 million in grants and foundation donations in 2018 alone here in the state of Florida, and we look forward to continuing that. So thank you.
Calvin, did you want to add anything to that? Or?
Yeah, let me just get to my microphone real quick. I'm pretty sure folks have heard the old adage that you can tell a lot about a society or an organization by how they treat and help the weakest amongst them or the neediest. This school district, when it comes to finding ways to help a very needy population for whatever reason, whether they're here because of a natural disaster, economic conditions that all of a sudden affects everyone, school districts, in the time that I've been elected, I've been a part of this board, have always been an example, I believe, for any organization to follow. And I'm really proud of them. I'm really proud of everyone here. I specifically also proud of the vendors and the people who step up. There's a lot of private business partners that, have never partly been here, but that they also deserve our thanks and our recognition. And to, Delta Dental, my good friend Jose Fernandez, Rick Rodriguez, these are folks that in between all their business and everything that they do, they are actively looking and thinking of ways that they can, help, again, do that contribution for those in our society, in our community that need the most help. And once again, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for what you've done, my friends. I said you're a great example to all of us and to the school district for coming together and making this one happen and many others. Thank you, Dr. Pace.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Soto. Brings us to our recognition of our elementary and secondary media specialists of the year. Scott Clark and Michelle Jarrett. You're already there.
You got Scott Clark. Michelle Jarrett gets the privilege of attending an event for her 8th grade daughter who's won quite a bit of recognition here lately. She qualified for the history state final.
Okay.
This is on behalf of the Osceola School Library Association. Before we recognize the media specialists, we'd like to thank the following friends of the library in reviewing the media specialist year packets. These are the people who helped us select them. That would be Mr. Allen and Miss Winston, Noddy Winston, Jonathan Robbins and Sarah of the Osceola Library, April Jackson from OCA, Mary Carico from Scholastic Books, Tammy Hatrick of Cengage, and Beth Napier from Mackin. So we want to thank them for participating in this. We also would like to thank some vendors, Scholastic Books, Cengage, and Mackin, for supporting the Media Specialist of the Year program by donating books and the award that we give to the media specialists. So let me move on. The Media and Instructional Technology Department, the Osceola County Library School Association, and Scholastic Book Fairs are proud to announce the 2019 Media Specialists of the Year. Media specialists are nominated, and then they must apply for this distinction and submit their application for consideration. The applications are then scored on a given rubric by district staff and community partners. And I'm going to move forward with announcing the 2019 Media Specialist of the Year. Heather Veralt, come on forward. Now they're going to get to hear a little bit about you now. Heather is a secondary media specialist of the year. Heather Veralt has been teaching in Osceola County since 2004. She began her career as an elementary teacher at Thacker Avenue, followed by Narcoossee Elementary and Eastlake Elementary. In 2012, she started her career as a media specialist at Mill Creek Elementary. And then for the last 6 years, she's been the media specialist at St. Cloud Middle. Heather is a proud veteran of the Air Force and a mom of 4 Osceola County students. One child has completed 2 years at Valencia and is doing that move right to UCF this fall, correct? So congratulations, Heather. All right, if I could welcome Marcy. Come on up, Marcy Shenda. Marcy is our elementary media specialist of the year. Marcy is a 19-year veteran of Osceola County Schools, serving at Deerwood, Pleasant Hill, Flora Ridge, and Parton Settlement Elementary, where she has been the media specialist for the past 11 years. She was named Teacher of the Year at Parton Settlement during the 2010-11 school year. Marcy has been a school library media specialist for 12 years. Marcy believes that, and I quote, "Media specialists are the tour guides of knowledge, the facilitators of learning, and we prepare students for the future." So congratulations, Marcy. We are so happy for you as well.
Do you care if Marcy's husband and Heather's son come up here? Is that all right?
I'm going to say something anyway, because I just want to say that in this school district, we value our media specialists. I have to value media specialists, since my wife is one of the media specialists in this district for a while. But I can tell you, when there was district cutbacks across the state, when there's statewide funding cutbacks, a lot of times school districts cut back their media specialists, and we decided not to. I can tell you how special I know personally this lady is, because she is my two daughters' librarian at St. Cloud Middle School, and she is awesome. So just want to know we support you.
And we do know that it's a family affair to work and commit your lives to the school district, so we appreciate our families too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Great job. Next, we have a proclamation for Declare May as Better Hearing and Speech Month. Stephanie Butler.
Good afternoon, Dr. Pace and elected school board members. My name is Stephanie Butler. I'm one of the program specialists for speech and language pathology for the school district. I am here to celebrate Better Hearing and Speech Month and the hardworking, dedicated audiologists, speech language pathologists, and teachers for our deaf and hard of hearing students that are in our schools as well as in our community. I am honored to read the proclamation for Better Hearing and Speech Month. Communication disorders are among the most common conditions in adults and children, costing the United States billions annually due to lost work, productivity, special education, and medical treatments. Therefore, I am pleased to join with all the citizens in celebrating May as Better Speech and Hearing Month. Because of their tireless work, we salute the audiologists and speech language pathologists who work in our state to bring better hearing and speech to those individuals who are affected by communication disorders. During this annual observance, we should focus our attention on the needs of our citizens who have forms of hearing, speech, and language impairments to ensure that everyone has access to audiological and speech language pathology treatments that will help them live full and productive lives. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the school board of the school district of Osceola County does hereby proclaim the month of May to be better known as Speech and Hearing Month.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Booth, a second by Mr. Weishauer to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion
Thank you.
carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have another proclamation, Children's Mental Health Awareness Month, May of 2019.
I knew there'd be a reason you were here.
It's my pleasure to introduce Natasha Rivera, a fourth grade student at Central Avenue, and Siomi Hopgood, also a fourth grade student at Central Avenue. They're both accompanied by school social worker Sandra Gonzalez, and they will be reading the proclamation for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whereas anyone can experience mental health challenges regardless of their background. 49.5 youth ages 13 to 18 live with medical health conditions. Medical health is as important as physical health to the overall well-being of all children. youth and families in Osceola County. And mental health challenges such as ADD, bipolar disorder, depression, and severe anxiety affects 1 in every 5 families in Osceola County.
And treatment success rates for mental health conditions compare favorably the rates for chronic illness, physical illness, and mental health conditions continue to remain hidden in stigma and discrimination, keeping those with mental health challenges and their families from seeking care. An increased public awareness of children's mental health issues may lead to reduced stigma and discrimination, and earlier identification and treatment, resulting in a lower health care and correctional costs, increased productivity, and stronger families. And whereas Osceola County recognizes that acceptance, dignity, and social inclusion for all, including children and youth with mental health challenges, should be promoted throughout the community. Now, therefore, the School District of Osceola County, Florida, does hereby proclaim May 2019 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Month and May 9th, 2019 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. We call upon our community to help raise children's mental health awareness, and your children, youth, and families live longer, healthier lives.
Motion to approve.
Discussion.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishaupt to approve with a second by Mr. Soto. Mr. Booth?
Well, since some of our folks are here, social workers and those folks, and I just, you guys are awesome and amazing, and I've been at several schools, you know, when there's been crisis situations, and you guys are there providing an invaluable service. So as we do this and proclaim, excuse me, Children's Mental Health Awareness Month, I want to make sure that we also recognize you all for the work you do for our children in our community. Thank you very much, Tony. And Miss Lane, I know she's probably not here, but to her, your whole team, thank you very much.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we have motion by Mr. Weishaupt, second by Mr. Soto. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to appointments and transfers. Dr. Pace?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Thacker and members of the board. As you know, we have been working over the past few weeks to complete our administrative teams for the upcoming school year with pending retirements and moves across the district. And so tonight I have several recommendations that we'll take one at a time for your approval. Okay? First, I'd like to invite Miss Misty Cruz to the podium. Board members, I am honored tonight to recommend Misty Cruz to be our new principal of Liberty High as Dr. Piccolo moves on into the university world. She has been a teacher at Parkway Middle, a curriculum specialist here at our district office, a resource teacher for Orange County Public Schools, and senior administrator for academic and guidance services for Orange County Public Schools. Assistant principal of curriculum at Palm Bay Magnet High when she came to her senses and came back to Osceola County, the best place to be, where she has been an assistant principal at Liberty High School and now serves as the assistant principal of instruction at Harmony High. She received her bachelor's degree in political science from Florida State University and a master's degree in educational leadership from American College of Education. And board members, this is another classic example of the work and success of our leadership pipeline in bringing folks to this stage of their career journey.
I will reluctantly make a motion to approve because I wanted you to be a Harmony student. That's okay. Keep you on my side of town.
Second the motion to approve.
Is that a second?
Congratulations. Yes.
I have a motion by Mr. Booth and a second by Mr. Weishaupt to approve Ms. Cruz as principal of Liberty. Further comments, questions, discussion?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Hearing none. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, Dr. Reinhardt, Mr. Allen, Dr. Respis, and all the school board members, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve as the next principal at Liberty High School. It's good to come home. It definitely is, Mr. Washire, as you said. I am thrilled to be back in that community to serve those teachers and students as we continue to charge to that A, which is going to take time, but we're going to get there. I'm excited tonight because the very first principal who hired me as a teacher is here, Mrs. McMillan. So thank you so much for hiring me. And I'd also like to thank the principals that I've served, John Thomas, Evelita Almeida Garcia, Gary Pricer, Dr. Piccolo, and Mr. Hickey, who's also here this evening, for their leadership. And it takes everyone, and everyone has had a role in who I've become as an educator and leader. So thank you so much for everyone. I'd also like to thank my parents for being here. No matter how old you get, they're still here to support you. And my children who are watching online, because they are working adults now, but I appreciate their support. And finally, to the Liberty staff and the representative tonight, Dr. Morrow, thank you so much for coming out here. I'm excited to get to work. And to say it best, 1, 2, 3, go Chargers. Thank you.
And now if I could invite Mr. Hodges to come to the podium. Mr. Hodges is a familiar face, board members. As you know, he has been serving as the principal at Floor Ridge Elementary School, and he and I both taught together a very long time ago, early in our careers. He has served as a teacher at Poinciana High, dean of students at St. Cloud High, assistant principal at St. Cloud, assistant principal at Harmony, the principal of our professional and technical high school, and also the principal of Poinciana High before going to Floor Ridge in 2016. He received his bachelor's degree from the State University of New York at Cortland and a master's degree from Stetson. And I've asked Mr. Hodges, with your approval board, to assume the reins of director of Osceola Virtual School with the pending retirement of Dr. Enid Rentis.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Castillo with a second by Mr. Weishauer. Any further comments or discussion?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Pete. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And now if we could invite Ms. Yance to the podium, please. Board members, another great example of our leadership pipeline in effect with the movement of Ms. Cruz to take the helms at Liberty High School. That leaves an important vacancy at Harmony High School. And with your approval board, Ms. Yance will become the assistant principal at Harmony High School for the upcoming school year. She's been a teacher at Denjon and Harmony High, a dean and curriculum coach at Harmony Community, teacher at Harmony High, and dean of students at Harmony High currently. She received her bachelor's degree in public administration from the University of Central Florida, a master's degree in curriculum instruction and assessment K-12 from Walden University, and the master's degree in educational leadership from the American College of Education. Ms. Yance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Booth.
Discussion.
With a second by Ms. Castillo. Mr. Booth.
Well, before you go, Ruben, cut off this microphone over here, please.
I just want to say, because this is exciting for me, because I've known Amanda my whole life, and for those of you who don't know, she's Amanda Yates Yance. So she is a Yates and a proud one too. And I see her father in the back there. I'm sure you were going to get around to introduce him, but I'll go ahead and call him out already. Such a wonderful family, a wonderful Osceola County family, and I just want to say congratulations. Just promise that Jack won't come out to the school that much. Keep him on the baseball field, coaching the boys. Don't let him come out to the high school too much. But I'm just joking. Jack, congratulations as well. What a wonderful young family, and I'm just so excited to have her be the new AP at Harmony High School. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other? Wait just a second. Not there yet. You gained it on it. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries 5-0. Now, congratulations,
Yes.
Amanda.
Thank you. I wanted to take the time to thank you, Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, Dr. Reinhardt, leadership team, and the board for this wonderful opportunity. And to Mr. Hickey, my amazing principal, and my assistant principals, Ms. Cruz, Dr. Carroll, Mr. R. Scott, the staff, the parents, the students, for believing in me and preparing me for this moment. Also, I would like to, thank all the mentors that helped me along the way. I'm tremendously grateful for each one of them. But most importantly, I would like to take the time to thank my family. They've been with me every step of the way. My husband, my sons who couldn't be here today because they were at school, my mom and dad, and my friend Jody. They've been with me every step of the way. They're here today. And lastly, I just want to say it's an honor to serve my community, and go Longhorns.
And now if I could invite Dr. Seabolt to come to the podium, please. Board members, another familiar face. Dr. Seabolt has been serving in our Research and Evaluation Department with the Osceola School District. He's also been a teacher with us since 2008. He received his bachelor's degree in finance from the University of North Carolina, a master's degree in social administration and supervision from Liberty, and his graduate certification in advanced quantitative methodologies from the University of Central Florida, and has since went on to complete that important doctorate that we're so proud of for Justin and his family. And I'm pleased to recommend him to become our new assistant principal at Neo City Academy with Mr. Meechin and the team.
Awesome. Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Weishaupt, the second by Ms. Castillo. Any other further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Congratulations.
to you.
Thank you. Just want to say thanks to Dr. Pace, Dr. Fritz, Dr. Respis, Mr. Allen, Dr. Reinhardt, and the board for the opportunity, and Mr. Meechin for the opportunity. We had a chance to tour the campus about a week and a half ago, and it's really exciting. It's going to be a really awesome opportunity for those students and a really unique experience for them, and I'm really looking forward to it. I also want to thank my REA family who I've been with for the past 6 years and has basically taught me everything that I know. And then lastly, I would like to thank my wife, Amanda, my daughter, Charlotte, who's back there talking to me right now, and my mom, who's here with me as well. So thank you very much.
Congratulations. Good luck.
And finally, this evening, board, certainly not least of our group, I'd like to invite Ms. Nicholson to the podium. Board members, as you know, with the promotion of Mr. Dwyer to take Mr. Hodges' place at Floor Ridge Elementary School, that created an assistant principal position at Cypress Elementary School. She's been a teacher at St. Thomas and a teacher at Cypress since 2010, math and science coach 2 years ago, where she was one of our top 10 Teacher of the Year finalists, and this year took on the challenge of becoming the literacy coach for Cypress. Really one of those ladies who's willing to do what we need her on the team. She received her bachelor's degree in elementary education from University of Central Florida and a master's degree in education from Stetson University. With your approval, board, Ms. Nicholson will become the assistant principal at Cypress.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Weishaupt, a second by Mr. Booth. Further discussion, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign.
Congratulations.
Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations to you.
I just wanted to thank the board on their approval. I appreciate it, and I look forward to serving and continuing to serve our community at Cypress. I wanted to thank my husband and my son for being here, as well as my mom and my sister and the staff at Cypress. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
And that's all for me, sir.
Okay. This is, I know a lot of you are probably here for the job announcements and some of the presentations. This is kind of a good time if you do wish to get up and not stay for the rest of the meeting. You're very welcome to. You're also very welcome to stay if you'd like.
And Mr. Thacker, Chairman Thacker, if you'll indulge me for just a minute as the folks transition out, I know we have a very special guest with us, and I don't know, Mr. Krumbacher, if we can do this or not, but we have a very lengthy public comment section tonight. If we are able to move agenda item 15 under regular business and finance up ahead of public comments, is that okay? Is that acceptable? Okay. Chairman, you have the authority.
Is that okay, board?
Yes.
We're going to move item 15 up because one of the people here has to leave as a time sensitive. We're going to do it before these. Oh, okay. Because this is going to take a while. Item 15. It's the health of Mr. Rose this year. He's got to be at a school. I think we may have some. We'll give everybody just a second. Okay. Let's let everybody work their way out, and then we'll. No, we'll probably do them up front.
I got it. We've done that before.
Yeah, but I don't want to today. If we could, we're going to make a little modification of the agenda. We're going to move item 15 up to ahead of the public comment. We have a lengthy public comment section, and we have some people here on item 15 that have some time-sensitive issues, so we will go ahead and move that item up. And Mr. Kreppenbacher, I will turn it over to you to get us going here on where we're at.
Members of the board, you previously tasked the superintendent, myself, and the superintendent's team to embark on negotiations with, I'll describe it as the Rosen Group, regarding transitioning from Florida Hospital to a different model of health care for the health care clinic that we provide, center for our employees. We've spent the last couple of months learning an awful lot, your team has, about what it means and really what goes on. And we presented you the agreement. Since you've had it, there are a couple of what I call non-substantive tweaks that are simply changing names, where we use the word consultant and changing it to Rosen Care. There's nothing substantive that's been changed in the health clinic agreement. The superintendent and I, Ms. Graver, are recommending approval of it. We have they have worked through every issue with us. Dr. Pace, I think I speak for the team. We're actually very excited, given what we've learned. There is one issue, if you choose to adopt it, that I would ask you to add to the motion, and that would be authorizing the superintendent to discuss continuing Florida Hospital from August 1 to, I think it's September 30th, because this contemplates their being able to take over October 1. And August, September are an important time frame for us, so hopefully we can work that out as opposed to going dark. I should say there's one other substantive change. We originally had proposed that they would provide health services for any pediatric emergency. Their medical team specifically said that is not the best way to do this because we're not pediatricians, and et cetera. So basically, they will be working with us, which means the board, to identify a network of pediatric providers that will best serve our employees' families and the district. And so that's something we're going to work through on this. They will begin providing care age 15 and up. A dependent could then come to the clinic. But it's a very specialized thing, and if something goes wrong, it can go wrong really quick with a child. So doctors are hesitant to want to do anything that they're not skilled with. So that's the only item that's been tweaked since the document you have. And so with that, Dr. Pace, I will defer to you if you have any comments regarding the matter. And Mr. Rosen is here today, along with Kenneth and Ashley, Carolyn, who all are the leadership team that will be working with the board and the staff on the health clinic. This is basically puts the position, and the driving thought was nothing will go on without the board knowing what is happening and be giving direct information from the Rosen Care Group.
Okay, and board, just one more thing. I have not looked through all the comments. I know what a lot of them are. But since we are a little bit out of order, if there's anybody that's turned in a yellow form to speak to the board on the healthcare clinic, I want to give you the opportunity now because I don't want to do this without you having that opportunity. I don't know. Like I say, I haven't looked through these to see what they are. Is there anybody with that wishing to speak on this health clinic issue? Okay. All right. Hearing none, then, board, we will.
Yeah, Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve item 1501, and I would add the proviso as recommended by council that we continue to seek services from Advent Health until September 30th of 2019.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishire with a second by Ms. Castillo to approve item 15.01 with an additional proviso to extend Advent Health to September 30th to avoid a dark period at the clinic. Is that?
Yes, sir.
Take that correctly? Board, any further discussion? I know we've all had lots of conversations with council and the superintendent individually on this topic over the last months. So, questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval with continuing Advent Health, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries 5-0.
And then, Chairman, I would also make a motion to approve item 1502, which is the Employment Benefit Consulting Services.
Mr. Chairman, could I just read?
We got a motion. Let's get a second.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishire and a second by Mr. Booth to approve the Employee Benefit Consulting Agreement. Mr. Krippenbacher, you have a comment?
Yes. Mr. Weishire, would you entertain modifying that and the second for it with the following? We worked out that the limited commissions that are due for the next couple of months from Gallagher would be theirs, et cetera, and we changed the 24-month period of analyzing claims, which is going to form the basis for analyzing savings, to 60 months to get a real long picture of it. And then we put in language. We have learned, Dr. Pace and I and Sarah, that there's an awful lot they don't know and we don't know about our current insurance situation that we're going to learn about when they become the official broker. And I can tell you, Dr. Pace, I think, would agree, a week hasn't gone by as we've peeled the onion, we've learned something we didn't know about. So we built in language that said no later than October 1 of this year. During that period of time, both parties would learn everything about really what's happening, and either side could opt to then say, we want to sit down and renegotiate the agreement based upon the knowledge we've learned. But again, the underpinning to this agreement is that this board controls what the final decisions are. Nobody else is spending your money or making money without it being a partnership. And I appreciate their working with us like that, because that to me is the spirit of having an agreement that will be a long-lasting term. And I want to thank Dr. Pace, because she has scrutinized every word and comma in the agreements, and
as she should,
and made me do an even better job. So I appreciate what you've done. And I want to just add one last thing on both of these. Your chairman has been outstanding in giving us his time and working on this. I don't believe we would have been here without his coming to the meetings and giving us guidance on your behalf. So put that in the record.
Thank you. And Chairman,
Weishire.
as maker of the motion, I would say that was indeed the intent, because Mr. Krippenbacher and I had this conversation earlier today, so I was aware of those nuanced pieces and had fully intended that was a part of my motion. I'll yield the floor for any discussion. I have one other piece that I would add, though.
And if my second needs to include that, then it does. So stated.
Okay.
And then I would just like to say, I know all of you have worked so extremely hard on this, and I appreciate all the time that you've taken on this, and to have Mr. Rosen here today absolutely shows that he and his team are ready to be partners here with the school district, and I want to personally thank him and his team for all that they've done to help us get to this point.
Mr. Rosen was reminded prior to this meeting.
Yes, that's right.
That we look forward to his partnering with one of our schools.
I was just going to add that
Or
comment.
2 or 3.
I admire what you do in Orange County, and we're looking forward to seeing some of that down here.
So my comment was actually going to be similar. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to say thank you to you. You have been a great corporate citizen for so many decades in Central Florida, and for me, I am excited about the opportunity of partnering with you and your organization. Your team has represented you very well during our conversations, my review of your facility in Orlando, and the opportunities that we can bring to our employees here in this district. I know that you work hard every single day to improve the lives of your employees, and I look forward to your team doing the exact same thing in partnership with us to improve the lives of ours. So we're grateful for you and your support in this partnership.
Dr. Pace?
I would just simply say that the changes that Mr. Kruppenbacher referenced are reflected in the contract that you see before you at the dais with the redlined versions clearly identified for your review before you approve it.
Okay. And I've just got one other comment before we take a vote. When we started this health clinic, I think 4 of us were here several years ago, I think we viewed the health clinic as being a major employee benefit that we could provide to our staff. I don't think we've gotten there yet, but I think this is a step in getting us there. And one thing is I had lots of meetings on the way up to this with the Rosen Medical Group, is they're in an industry of the hospitality industry where an industry that runs turnover of greater than 50% of their staff. Their company runs far, far, far lower than that. They attribute one of their benefits of being the health clinic and the way they treat their people and the way they make it available and the way they help people stay on task with their medications or their treatments or whatever they need to do as being a game changer in a field that turns over that much. Point that was not lost on me at all. And when we think about things we can do for our employees and things that are important to our employees, their families, their health, this is certainly something that's extremely highly important to me. And this is a different approach probably than anybody would have guessed. Certainly I would have guessed a year ago to go down. But I'm really excited about the opportunity. I'm excited about the customer service focus. I'm excited for our employees to see that focus and see what I believe will be a different type of health care or health management, maybe is a better word, which is what our intent was when we started this years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. So I can tell you I'm wholeheartedly behind this, and I'm very excited about it. Any other comments? If not, have a motion by Mr. Weishire, second by Mr. Booth. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Can't wait for y'all to get to work.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Could I ask the privilege, could Mr. Rosen say a few words?
If you'd like to, please.
Does he want to?
Sorry.
No pressure.
Just talk about what school you want to
You know, how incredibly stupid I am. I thought we were coming to sit in your office and sign a couple of papers. I didn't realize all of this. I apologize that I'm having to leave early today because some of you may know that we have adopted the Tangelo Park community and the Paramore community, and we've already given our scholarships to the youngsters at Dr. Phillips High School from Tangelo Park, and tonight, a little after 5, we're going to be giving out scholarships to the youngsters from the Paramore community.
Great.
My hope and my prayer is that one day, every underserved community in the United States of America will have a Tangelo Park / Paramore program. If that ever happens, or I should say when that happens, we won't recognize ourselves because it will provide an opportunity for every youngster to go to college, community college, or trade school. That's really what it's all about. In terms of health care, we have demonstrated unequivocally that lowering health care costs is not really a mystery. If you can keep people healthy, you will lower health care costs. And that's really what we're all about, providing the best possible care we can. And it seems to work, because over the years, when you compare our costs per individual to the national average cost per individual, we've saved over $400 million. Our goal is to demonstrate unequivocally that in the public sector, we can achieve similar results. So God bless you all, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen.
Okay, we're going to back up a little bit to our public comment portion of the meeting, and anybody is welcome to address the board. There are little yellow sheets of paper. I hope there's still some on that back table. If you have not filled one out, you can get one and fill it up and bring it up here so you can speak. We ask that we limit our comments to 3 minutes. There will be a timer on. Many of these are on the same topic. So is there an order I'm supposed to follow here? Oh, okay. Several of these, I believe, are students who wish to speak. The students, when you speak, when you come forward, we don't need to say your name to address us. Everybody else will need to state your name and address for the record, but students do not need to do that. The first person, or the first one on my list, is Alex.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex, and I'm a student of the Osceola County School District. I'm here today because I'm concerned about the physical and emotional implications of arming our teachers via the Guardian program. My entire life, I have been surrounded by tales of caution that my dad and stepmom have brought home from their service as first responders in Osceola County. Their experiences have made me increasingly mindful about the safety and security of myself and those around me, and has taught me the weight that a firearm carries. Even in the best intended hands, a firearm has greater potential to do more harm than good, and the loosely guided parameters set forth in Senate Bill 7030 only exacerbate this concern. As we know, Senate Bill 7030 is a response to the Parkland school shooting, which, like every other school shooting in American history, was carried out by someone with emotional and mental health disorders which were being untreated. My mother is a marriage and family therapist in Osceola County, and her experiences with our community have shown me how the neglection of mental health can lead to tragedy, and how genuine advocacy, support, and psychoeducation can bring about healing from those tragedies. The things that I have learned and experienced have led me here today because, as a student, I am highly concerned that arming any personnel other than school resource officers will cause tragedy. The marketing and availability to the mental health programs and support resources in our schools is clearly lacking. Allowing the Guardian program into our schools will bring more anxiety to what is already a high-stress environment. Despite the confidentiality clause, I assure you students will know what teachers are armed, and this only increases the potential for easier access to a weapon, which then creates an environment for fear to manifest and distract from what is asked of a student to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Nice job. Next, we have Juliet. Should we give up? No, here she comes. I see. Okay.
The guy with the camera.
That's right.
Hi, can I start speaking now?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay.
Start when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Juliet, and I'm an Osceola County student. I want to make the case that arming teachers is not safe. Statistics show that it does not decrease violence, and situations where teachers are armed pose more threats to schools. The idea behind arming teachers is more guns is the way to prevent gun violence. This is not the case, however, and these statistics have been debunked. Many who argue that guns deter crime use the statistic that guns are used offensively and 2.5 million times per year in the U.S. But this number is a discredited estimate from a 1995 study with many flaws and illegitimate use of methods to find the data. It relied on only 66 responses in a telephone survey of 5,000 people, and it was used to represent 200 million Americans. Statistics filed by the Federal Bureau of Justice found that defensive gun use occurs at a dramatically lower rate, at 98.5% lower than the gun lobby has claimed. Rather than increasing safety, arming teachers would actually pose more threats to safety, because as we can see, it does not deter gun violence. The fact is that teachers are not the ones that we should be arming, as it leads to dangerous situations. And I want to present 3 situations. First, the armed teacher could falsely identify a threat and take action against an innocent person. Last year, my classmates panicked as an unidentified man was reported on campus, resembling a teacher's ex-boyfriend, who had been making threats to her. After a lockdown, the man was identified as a district worker not properly wearing identification. In the scenario that the teacher was armed and took it upon herself to defend herself, the innocent life could have been lost. This scenario also brings up the issue of whether or not teachers would have legal immunity for wrongly identifying a threat and then taking action, a whole other dangerous topic that would arise if Osceola would allow teachers to be armed. In scenarios where an active shooter is on campus, the shooter is likely to be confused with an armed teacher. The teacher is not going to be properly identified and has a large possibility to be mistaken as a threat itself, walking around with a gun. The way being proposed to solve this now is to have teachers wear a brightly colored shirt to be identified. But this would not do anything beneficial. It would only make the teacher stand out as an armed threat to the original gunman who would have a motive to harm the teacher first. And lastly, a teacher in a classroom full of students with a gun poses a threat to those students. Just about a month ago, an experienced law enforcement officer accidentally discharged his weapon in the middle of a middle school cafeteria. And many more incidents like this will be far more common if we choose to arm teachers. Sooner or later, an incident as such would occur, either harming students or not. But regardless, it would reinforce their belief that school would no longer be a safer place if teachers were armed. The potential risk is so extremely scary, and we can tell you that over and over again. We do not want to have to go to a school in a harmful environment and be scared every day that our teachers could be a threat to our safety. Thank you.
Next, we have Mark. You here, Mark?
School board members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark, and I'm here as a former student of Liberty High School, where even today we had a lockdown where a person was a threat. We had no idea who they were. The police were going classroom to classroom trying to identify who this person was. Now, let's add guns to that situation. Teacher doesn't know who's being looked for, only police do. The school is on lockdown, high fear. That teacher would need to be extremely trained, and that is not in their job description. I asked 14 teachers and staff members throughout the county, varying from elementary school to high school, whether they would feel safe with a gun in their class. 12 out of 14 said no, and when asked if they would feel safe if a teacher had a gun in a neighboring class, all 14 responded negatively. The majority of teachers at the schools I've attended are easily overpowered. They are not 6'2" former wrestlers. They are your average person, and the students nowadays are a lot bigger than they used to be. So if a student knows that a teacher has a weapon, it is much easier to overpower them. It is much easier to get access to that, and teachers are only human. Teachers talk. You never know who has a gun until it gets out, and it will get out easily. Once one person knows, everyone knows, with social media especially. This also brings up discretion. What people would know whether or not a teacher has a gun? Is it a list in the front office recorded by the principal? Is it a list that could be accessed? Do students and parents have the right to know what teachers are packing heat? There are so many potential dangers that outweigh the potential benefits, and I hope you guys take this into consideration when considering Senate Bill 7030. Thank you.
Jenny?
Good afternoon. My name is Jenny, and I've been a student in Osceola County my entire life.
I love going to school in this beautiful, diverse county that has been so essential to the person I am. The dedicated team of educational professionals, whether it be in the classroom or in the county office, has impacted my life in ways I can't even begin to describe. Florida has also faced some of the worst cuts in education funding, and our education sector has not yet fully recovered from the Great Recession. Combined with the rising costs of operating schools, it is necessary we find cost-efficient solutions to the threats we now face. However, I want to urge our school board members that arming teachers is not the solution. Our student safety is not a place we can cut corners, especially the safety of students in our charter schools. I understand getting resource officers for all our schools can be a challenge, and even more so in all our newer charter schools. But armed school staff with the bare minimum 144 hours of training is not a substitute for a police officer with months and in most cases years of training and experience. Do not pass this decision to charter schools when we can make the right decision now. The distinctions that have been made between our charter school students and the rest of our schools is extremely dangerous. All of our Osceola County students are entitled to a safe school environment, and if we let charter schools put guns into the wrong, inexperienced hands, we will be robbing Osceola students of their safe learning environment that we have an obligation to protect. The majority of our school board and our local sheriff have explicitly stated that arming school staff is dangerous. Why is this tackled differently when it comes to our charter schools? The danger is equally as great in our charter schools as it is in our public schools. I love the fact that I can choose the school I go to and I can make different choices for my schooling. But our charter schools should not have autonomy to downgrade student safety and put students in an accident waiting to happen. A firearm is a deadly weapon. We don't have room for mistakes. And if we have a mistake, the students will be the ones paying for it, whether it be with their lives or well-being. There is too much room for error. An armed teacher doesn't make anyone feel safer. It makes them scared. I urge all of you to do the right thing and keep firearms in the hands of professionals and let teachers focus on what they do best, which is teaching. Thank you.
Valeria?
Good afternoon. My name is Valeria Perez. I am a student of the Osceola County School System, and today I will be explaining why I feel the school board should explicitly not allow charter schools to arm teachers. While you may feel that giving charter schools the option is the most fair, the best way to protect all students in our county is to provide the exception that we keep the status quo regarding weapons on campus. I appreciate that our county is taking the issue of student safety seriously. However, the consideration of arming personnel at public or charter schools is evidence that our conversation about school safety is misguided. The issue is not about bringing weapons on campus, but about preventing acts of violence by supporting students on a regular basis. It is for this reason that I plead with great urgency along with the stakeholders here tonight that we adjust our priorities. We ought to shift away from discussions of weapons and towards conversations about bettering things such as our mental health. I understand that some may feel it's best to give charter schools this choice and freedom to make their own decisions in order to preserve the autonomy of charter schools. But where is the freedom of choice for students, for parents, for teachers? As stated in the school board workshop this morning, bottom line is we need to keep guns off campus, both public and charter. As stated in the school board workshop this morning, 20% of our students attend charter schools and they deserve as much protection as the rest. Additionally, charter school boards have incentives to cut costs and make profits, even those who are supposedly non-profit. So we can't trust all charter school boards, especially those with pre-existing financial troubles, to make a level-headed decision guided by parents, students, the sheriff, and etc. In summary, the act of arming teachers is allocating resources all of us feel won't generate any positive externalities. We acknowledge that some individuals consider the addition of a firearm in the appropriate space as a tool of safetyness and not a weapon, but when placed in an environment of education, there isn't a solidified distinction between that safety and threat. If anything, by implementing such a powerful tool in school environments, not only are we risking the lives of students, but creating an atmosphere of distraction, discomfort, and anxiety. I've learned that the key differences between charter schools and regular public schools lies in this element to define them. They are held accountable, not just in general, but to achievement goals embedded in their charters. Their student body is made up of children whose parents chose the school, and the school is tailored to the student body's needs. They are given freedom from certain bureaucratic procedures with the idea that this will give them a greater ability to focus on creating academic emphasis. Guns will not aid to them. Guns will not promote academic emphasis. Guns will not increase focus. Guns will not strengthen durability. Guns will not provide freedom, and guns should not be a choice. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I apologize for mispronouncing your name, too.
Thank you.
Brian, is it Moriarty?
Good afternoon. As an Orange County public school teacher, I know that if the school board endorses this plan to arm Osceola teachers or defers this decision to another entity, there will be less empty classrooms above the border. There will be less of your talented, bright, and compassionate educators in your classrooms, and they'll fill our vacancies. Our school board has vehemently opposed the implementation of this irresponsible bill. If you so choose to endorse this plan, I would encourage the residents of Osceola County to investigate each board member who receives a check from Marion Hammer and her NRA brethren if this policy is implemented. And if teachers go into their classrooms armed this August, you will be hastening the death of public education. When a student is shot accidentally or purposefully to neutralize the threat, will you be writing a check to cover the teacher's legal defense? How will the children view that teacher who may have grazed the leg of an innocent student caught in the crossfire while in pursuit of a school shooter? How does an educator come back from that? What will you do for the students who are shot in that circumstance? Will you cover their medical bills? Will your district be safe from the ensuing lawsuits, despite reassurances from those who say otherwise? Today, you may protect your students in Osceola County by deciding against arming any teacher in Osceola County. We live in a dangerous time. There are lawmakers in this district that are more than happy to accept money from the NRA for their campaigns, as opposed to considering the well-being of their constituents. With seasoned veterans of the New York Police Department having a successful hit rate during a firefight of 18%, how would anyone entertain the notion that teachers can do better? How do you justify adding another job to a position that the Florida Department of Education anticipates will have 10,000 openings statewide come August? In addition to coping with low pay, excessive paperwork, administrative micromanagement, failure to provide adequate mental health support for students, reduced benefits, and now classrooms that have their students and teachers sweating bullets with the new air conditioning protocol. If you support this ill-conceived legislation or defer and let someone else decide whether or not to arm teachers, it will be a sad day for education in Osceola County. I urge you to reject the use of guns in schools outright. May God have mercy on the soul of the first student to perish from this legislation, but let him judge accordingly those who put their campaign over salvation.
Next, is it Ali Sheehy? I get that anywhere close to right?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
Good job. Not a lot of people
do.
So hi, my name is Ali Sheehy, and I'm a current student at UCF, and I would like to talk about the implementation of SB 7030, and more specifically, the arming of teachers. I was there that day. MSD was my home for so long, and in a matter of minutes, that feeling of home was shattered. A day that started so innocent quickly became the worst day of my life, and the only word I can use to describe that day was chaos. Kids told their parents goodbye, video footage was delayed, BSO was unorganized, we didn't even know what was happening until it was over. I saw my teacher cry. I'd never seen an adult cry before. The fear radiating within that room only grew with time. Every movement was slow and quiet, every whisper was barely a breath, any noise louder than a cough was immediately shushed. The doors were thrown open, and I thought, this is it. I'll try my best to run, but I might die. We squeezed each other's hands a little harder and waited for the shots. Instead, with guns pointed, SWAT entered and demanded hands up, phones down, and get against the wall now. Tension grew, and everything moving became a potential threat. A student wasn't given the chance to explain himself and was tackled, remaining in handcuffs for several hours as a potential suspect. Every shuffle caused a gun to be pointed in your direction, and even as we ran from the building, we were not allowed to put our hands down. Now add a gun to that situation. Under this piece of legislation, classroom teachers would be granted the option to carry on campus, But where is this gun to be stored? In a safe? What happens when a guardian ends up in a different classroom, like many teachers did, and in my case, and their gun is locked in a safe upstairs, leaving them useless in this situation and unable to guard their students? Is it on their person? That allows access to students in any situation, or in an event like this could result in a guardian being shot in front of their class due to mistaken identity. A yellow shirt won't help anyone once everyone starts shooting. I have sat and gone through every what if in my head for the past 462 days. Adding a teacher with a gun would have resulted in unnecessary casualties and trauma being added to our community. This does not even include the effects of having a weapon in the classroom on students and faculty on a regular school day in public or charter schools. We need to start putting students' lives and well-being first. So I urge you to please opt out of arming classroom teachers for the safety of the district and your students. That's it.
Lee Wright.
My name is Lee Wright, 4213 Prairie Iris Court, St. Cloud. I stand here today as an Osceola County teacher and a parent that's had to use my personal time to say there should be no exception made for guns in the hands of educators. In 2013, the FBI, DOJ, and 4 other federal agencies created a guide for developing high-quality school emergency operation plans. In the section titled, Responding to an Active Shooter, it states, confronting an active shooter should never be a requirement in any school employee's job description. Further, the possibility of an active shooter situation is not justification for the presence of firearms on campus in the hands of any personnel other than law enforcement officers. We are a choice state, but not every stakeholder has a choice in this situation. Where is the educator's choice that doesn't want to work in an environment with fellow teachers that may or may not be armed? Where is the choice of a student that doesn't want to be in a classroom with a loaded weapon? Where is the choice of the law enforcement officer that has to go to the school under lockdown and not know who is armed or who is or isn't a threat? As I understand it, there's been a little bit of conflict about giving autonomy to charter schools and understanding that charter school students are public school students. If charter school students are public school students and they make up 20% of all Osceola County students, then the school board needs to make a decision that best benefits those 20%. If the school board makes a decision in regards to public schools and you feel like school resource officers are the best option for school safety, then why isn't the district advocating for that for charters? Why is the district going to allow them the option to arm a teacher? If law enforcement says school security is a reactive measure and not a proactive measure, why is the school district going to allow charter schools to react to incidents instead of taking measures to make sure they don't occur? I understand the perspective that this is a funding issue, that the district may not have the funds to go towards helping defer the cost of some of these charter schools. But I think safety needs to be our #1 priority. I think the charter school needs to make a decision for all schools. Charter schools need to be held to the same standard as public schools, especially when it involves the safety of students. I implore this board to take a stand and say no educator in Osceola County should be armed. It should not be in a teacher's job description. It creates a safety risk, and it places an undue burden of responsibility on an already overloaded plate for educators. Thank you.
Next, Kira Takanen.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Kira Takanen, and I am the proud mother of 3 Osceola school students. I am also a marriage and family therapist and the owner of a Helping Hand Counseling Center, one of only 2 brick-and-mortar mental health agencies in East Osceola County. We offer free crisis counseling scholarships to all Osceola County students and staff, as well as work with over 24 insurances. The spectrum of clients we experience covers all socioeconomic, cultural, and family dynamics, which has afforded us great insight into the climate of mental health in Osceola County. What we see occurring is a consistent lack of resiliency, relational construct, permanence, attachment, and security, along with increasing anxiety, depression, and adjustment disorders. The issue of protecting students isn't solved via a staff member with minimal training, but rather by addressing the insecurities and disorders which breed acts of aggression. A school-age student's brain has minimal executive functioning available to them, yet they are faced with increasing social pressures, academic responsibilities, and unresolved complex traumas. While my staff is aware of the programs which exist within our community and school district, there is a gap in educating students, parents, and school staff of these vital and often life-saving services. The appointment of this month as Child Mental Health Awareness Month is a wonderful demonstration of the eagerness to bring mental health awareness into the mainstream conversation and daily environment of student life. I applaud these students' proactiveness in their petition to partner with this board and to strengthen these services and bring about a more comprehensive approach to supporting lifelong success via psychoeducation and training for all school staff. Strong marketing initiatives to disseminate information on services, encouragement for mentoring and other community involvement, and guidance, as well as continued collaboration between students and school faculty to further the growth of these initiatives. I applaud this board's earlier decision to retain use of the school resource officers as the only armed individuals on campus, and strongly encourage that this board dutifully consider how SB 7030 will be implemented in our county as to drastically address this epidemic, which impacts every area of education which this board oversees. Thank you for your time. God bless.
Christina Stewart.
Hello.
What's your name and address?
My name is Christina Stewart. My address is 4656 Egg Harbor Drive, Kissimmee. So my husband and I run a small business here. We pay taxes here. We vote here. Our kids go to school here. I personally was raised by a public school teacher in Seminole County. My father retired after 28 years as a science teacher and high school soccer coach. He wrote FCAT questions for the state, got grants for his school, and was the head of his department. I asked him about this vote specifically, and he emphatically stated he would refuse to teach in schools with teachers who carry guns. This is from a man who currently owns guns and used to hunt in the mountains in Colorado. This is how the majority of teachers feel. But I am here to speak on behalf of our young children who cannot vote or earn income, those who are the most underrepresented members of our society. My daughter Alexis is almost 8 and was born with hearing issues that necessitated surgery. Because of this, her speech was delayed and therefore too reading and writing. She is ultra aware of her obstacles, which causes some anxiety due to a heightened sense of self-awareness. Last week she cried after school because for the first time ever she got on yellow. You see, she earns a color rating every day based on school behavior and participation. Blue is best, then green, then yellow, then red. She's never been on red, but still, the next day she was afraid to go to school because she thought her teacher would be mad at her. These anxieties already exist. Yesterday I asked her how she would feel if her current teacher carried a gun. Her exact quote was, "I wouldn't know if she was there to protect me from bad guys or if she was a bad guy." Now, keep in mind, this statement was made about a wonderful, caring teacher she's had for almost a year now. These are anxieties that we can prevent. Even when there are no incidents with guns, mental harm to our children is being done if guns are present. And if we claim to care about mental wellness, this choice demonstrates the opposite belief. And if and when children die due to a gun in the classroom, we are all guilty of depraved indifference. Please do not defer this to choice, because the children involved here have zero choices where their parents send them to school. We must act on their behalf. Thank you.
Angel Martinez Acevedo.
Good afternoon. My name is Angel, aka AJ. I hope that you guys can take these public comments into consideration when considering the effects of SB 7030 and how charter schools should be allowed to decide or not. So, in a few days, I'll be graduating from Gateway High School just down the road, and I'd like to tell you about my experience there. Now, my school is like none I have ever attended, and as the son of an Army veteran, I have attended quite a few. At Gateway High School, I've had the privilege of meeting people from diverse backgrounds who ranged in race, religion, sexuality, gender, nationality. From them, I have learned so much about the world. They taught me empathy and what it means to connect. They taught me the value of not just tolerance, but also genuine respect and acceptance. I've tasted authentic cheese curds from Quebec. I've been by my friend's side as they broke their Ramadan fast. I've reminded my friend of that one word in English he could only remember in Spanish. In short, the diversity at Gateway is of unparalleled value to my development into adulthood. And Gateway is not a unique case in our county, as over 50% of our students identify, or over 50% of the citizens in Osceola County identify as Hispanic or Latino, and almost 1 in 5 identify as Black or African American. So by allowing a decision to arm any teachers, any personnel in schools other than trained law enforcement, we put that beautiful and stimulating environment at risk. Education and fear are mutually exclusive. One can only exist in the absence of the other. For many, whether or not they would like to admit, racial bias influences their decisions. In these sensitive times, different groups of people are tearing this country apart. There's not the same unity that there once was. I was lucky to find a unifying setting at Gateway, but I'm not welcome everywhere. My friend who wears the hijab is not welcome everywhere. My friends who wear dreads are not welcome everywhere. By placing a gun in the hands of those who already hold power over us, we must acknowledge the danger we place our students. Bias can manifest into something more, something deadly. Already we see countless instances of unarmed individuals of color across the nation being killed with little justification or justice. We cannot allow this to infiltrate our schools. And I am not merely speculating here. No, students of color are disproportionately labeled as behavioral problems in schools. In fact, research by Princeton University draws a positive correlation between racial bias and disparities in disciplinary measures taken against black and white students across our country. Black students are more likely to be suspended, arrested in school, expelled, and referred to law enforcement. I fear that by arming teachers, we, or any charter school board, would be adding shot to that list. You see, 12 hours of diversity training cannot dismantle the historical and generational implicit biases that influence the decisions of many. We are human, after all. Thus, because our children of color, especially black children, are more likely to be seen as a threat, we indirectly place them in disproportionate danger by arming their accusers. Lastly, by instead having active and inclusive discussions and implementing focused and effective solutions, we can begin to dismantle barriers for minorities with mental illness, including discrimination, cultural perceptions, mistrust, and vulnerability to being uninsured. Let us tackle these obstacles, give our students of color the attention they need, the attention they deserve, rather than disrupt the very environments in which they feel the safest and most welcome. Thank you.
Paloma Otero. Your name and record, and again, 3 minutes.
Paloma Otero, 2430 Marcus Site Loop, 34743, Kissimmee, Florida. Good afternoon. I'm Paloma Otero. I'm a STEM student at Valencia College. On March 14th, 2018, I stood in silence for those who are no longer with us today. I am still standing for them, but now I'm not staying silent. Even though I'm your average college student, I want to be the voice for the people in Osceola County who agree that we can't fight fire with fire. Giving administration and faculty the choice to bring an armed weapon on campus will not solve the problem, it adds to it. First, we start with charter schools, then public schools, and it'll grow. I don't want to see that happen. My father, he's actually here to support me, Dr. Jose Otero, has created a program that would be implemented in an active shooter situation without the need for guns. As a parent, educational consultant, and ex-cop, he agreed that enough is enough. The program is called TED. TED stands for Tactical Educator Defense. Utilizing existing available resources, educators can be trained on various offensive techniques that can minimize or stop a violent event and effectively reduce casualties. A TED-trained educator would be able to engage in offensive and be a law enforcement officer asset without having to carry a firearm. Additionally, the expense of many proposed solutions is not sustainable. However, it is well known many federal and state enforcement departments have access to tactical resources. I'm sorry. Sorry, I lost my thought. Tactical instructors, military trainers, facilities, and expert knowledge in situational defense tactics. This resource needs to be harnessed to prepare our educators to defend themselves and their students until help arrives. My father has spoken with retired and active law enforcement officers in Florida and New York, and we can proudly say that we have our backs. Now, with honest conscience, could you say that this bill should be passed? Thank you.
Okay, I'm sure I will not get this right. Jose Balasquid.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, board members and community members. My words will be very brief and simple. I'm here representing my community, my family members. I urge you, members of the board, to vote no, not to approve this. Do not arm the teachers of Osceola County. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Santiago.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Joshua Cora Santiago. I live in 4579 Cove Drive, Orlando, Florida. I am a political activist, secretary with Misión Boricua, secretary of Orange County Democratic Hispanic Caucus, a member of Organized Florida, and a teacher here in Osceola County. I am here today to speak against the idea of arming teachers and school personnel. As a first-year teacher, I have experienced the highest stress levels of my life, and many teachers go through the same around the state. It is mind-blowing to know that there are school board members okay with the idea of arming teachers, clearly showing a lack of understanding of what goes in the classroom day to day. This topic was also a concern, obviously, to the students. Today I come here with the letters of my students. I told them that these letters are their voices. They are the constituents, their parents are the voters, and they also pay your salaries. I encourage all of you guys to take a look and read over these letters, which my students put a lot of mind into. Passing this law will not help student concentration. It will not help them increase their grades, and their stress levels will also be heightened. I also wanted to speak about the lack of communication between the school board and teachers and parents. If March for Our Lives didn't put out a call for this, I would have not known. So we encourage, right, the better communication between school board, teachers, and parents. This topic was brought up last board meeting. It was workshopped today during a time where people were working, and even now at 3 when the school board's meeting started, teachers are still teaching, students are still in class, parents are working. So today I ask the Osceola School Board to improve the way they communicate with parents, students, and teachers. I ask for there to be town halls and information sessions for students, for voters, and use social media. At this point, everyone has a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's a way that you can speak about these very important topics that would affect teachers and students. We demand transparency at all times, and we reject guns in classrooms. Thank you.
Next, Dr. Eugenia Argaro.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Eugenia Agard, and I'm coming as a representative for the mental health piece, as well as a community advocate, as someone who lives here, and as someone who's raised their child that's went to Gateway right next door. I want to say that for the school district to even consider that guns are in the school is an absolute dishonor that we cannot consider. We already have been disappointed at the state level where this was even allowed to be passed. So I'm asking for you wonderful people here who represent us to realize that that would be a disfortunate situation that we would allow that here. So we don't want to kick the can down the road. We want to stop it right now. You have the decision. You have the power-making opportunity to do that for us. As a mental health provider, what I see as a concern is that we're not addressing what is happening in our schools before it actually happens. There are things that are happening that we see that we turn a blind eye on. Children who are being bullied, children who are being ostracized. Those children need that support. We need the support. If we could just visualize a student here, a teacher, with the nervousness of knowing that their classroom now has a gun inside of it. Their classroom now has, is it in the locker room? Is it above the teacher's head? Is it in the teacher's desk? Is it in the teacher's purse? We already have anxiety just coming in, trying to fit into the school system. Teachers have stated that they do not want to carry a gun. They did not go to school and get an education, bachelor's, master's, doctorate, to come into the school system and carry a gun to hurt a child that they're here to teach by accident. No teacher will do it on purpose, I'm sure. But these things happen by accident. They're not trained. They have not gone to school to fire a gun. And under the circumstances that would be presented, that so many people have stated, would be a dishonor to our students, to our community, to our school system. So I beg and plead you, please, do not kick this can down the road. Let's make a decision here in Osceola County. Let's be a role model for the other counties that may have to also face this situation. We have to say no. We can't go any further. So I just want to say thank you for your time. And if there's anything that Hugs Therapy can do to support the school system, the teachers, we are here for that. Thank you so much.
So we have Carol, Carol Artemay.
That's me.
Please state your name for the record and your address.
Yes, my name is Carol Hardeman. I live at 60 South Mount Breeze Way for over 20 years, Kissimmee, Florida. My son has attended Gateway. He's now 33. Okay, and also Boggy Creek. And thank you. You know who I'm talking to. The principal, who used to be the principal of Parkway. Okay, when he was going to school. I have a 13-year-old granddaughter who I have raised. She has been to Cypress Elementary. I know Miss Raymond real well. And also she is now currently at Parkway. And I love all three of those schools. I'm very active in the community as far as politics. I know some of your faces. I've talked to you, shaken your hand, voted for you. I especially know you, but I also know the commissioners for BVL. I'm very active. The library, very active with them, the schools, whatever I can do for my community. And I repeat that, my community. And what you're trying to do is totally wrong. You got it wrong this time, guys. Okay? There's no way, as a president of SAC, for Parkway, I'm going to allow you, or our teachers are going to allow you, to bring guns in there unless you're a police officer. They had 2 yellow warnings this past week. My granddaughter, she's a little big for her size. She's 5'6", I'm 5'7". Her daddy's 6'6". You don't want to meet him. Okay? And she was scared. Okay, even though she knows the routine, she's been through it through Cyprus and all like that. I don't need my only grandchild scared to be at your schools that I pay taxes for. So like I said, you got it wrong. Bring more security people, bring the wands, bring, whatever they have to walk through, microchip their IDs, whatever you have to. But do not bring guns into our schools as a taxpayer and a parent and as a grandmother. Thank you.
Zulma Velez Estrada.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zulma Velez Estrada. I live in 3231 Herons Point Circle, Kissimmee 34741. I've been living in Osceola County for over 28 years. My kids have been studying in different schools in Osceola, but I'm here to represent my granddaughters who are actually in elementary and university in Osceola County. I do believe that the schools has to be kept as sanctuaries for learning. Students need to develop their learning skills in school and not seeing anybody being armed inside their school, especially their teachers, because teachers are their superiors. They need to be safe. They need to be like in church. They need to be learning and not feeling threatened by a person that sometimes they get exhausted, they get stressed, and they don't feel comfortable even as a teacher. And that makes them stress out, but also seeing them armed could be a harm for the mental health and their general security. I think gun reform has to be done, not here in the schools. And I do believe that arms and fire guns are for good business for guns manufacturers, but not for school, not for teachers to be armed. Thank you very much.
Vivian Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Deborah Bass, and good afternoon to everyone on the school board. My name is Vivian Rodriguez. I'm the Outreach Director for Congressman Darren Soto, and our office is at 804 Bryan Street, Kissimmee, Florida 34741. I'm here on behalf of Congressman Soto to deliver his statement. I urge the Osceola School Board to reject any attempt to arm teachers in Osceola public schools. Our teachers are trained to teach, and our police officers are trained to protect. Combining the two puts our kids at risk and adds unnecessary burdens to our already overworked and underpaid teachers. Rather, I commit to continue to work with you all and our Sheriff Russ Gibson to fund school resource officers in every school here in our county. Just last year, we brought back $213,000 in federal funding for Osceola School safety under the Stop School Violence Act, and we will continue to pursue these funds. Our state legislator also must step up to better fund the School Resource Officer Program. It is no accident that a day before the debate on expanding the Arming Teachers Program, a resource officer's gun went off in a classroom in St. Petersburg. Think what a risk to our children would exist if thousands of minimally firearm trained teachers were armed across the entire state. Our students deserve to be safe in the classroom and have a great education. So let's do this the right way. Give them highly trained resource officers to protect them, and keep teachers focused on teaching our kids. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sonia Ledger.
Good afternoon. My name is Sonia Ledger. My address is 4930 Corto Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32837. I come to you as a representative of the Florida chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America and a local mother. We, along with most students, parents, teachers, and school administrators, oppose the proposal to allow teachers to serve as guardians. The majority of districts have declined to even arm non-instructional school staff. Of 67 school districts, 25 have utilized the Guardian program, but very few of those opt to arm existing school staff and instead hire full-time security guards. This indicates a broad consensus that educational school staff should not be transformed into armed guards. So, if the majority of Florida schools do not believe staff should be armed, why are we considering going beyond that and arming teachers? There is no evidence that arming teachers would make our schools safer. In fact, the data indicates just the opposite. Research shows that students may be aware of where and how the teachers keep their firearms and how to obtain access. Access to a firearm, irrespective of age, triples the risk of death by suicide and doubles the risk of death by homicide. Research also casts significant doubt on the ability of teachers to stop active shooters. The fact is that shooting accuracy of even the most highly trained law officers significantly decreases in stressful situations such as gunfights. What level of stress do you think a school teacher is under in an active shooter situation, in a classroom full of children in fear of their lives? We also know that armed civilians complicate law enforcement response to active shooter incidents. As former Dallas Police Chief David Brown said, in the wake of an ambush on law enforcement in 2016, we don't know who the good guy is versus the bad guy when everyone starts shooting. Then, if you still do not believe the facts, and here are several potentially fatal mistakes made by armed guards in schools, on a single day in February 2018, a St. Paul, Minnesota third grader managed to pull the trigger of a gun in an officer's holster, firing a bullet into the school floor. And in Fort Walton Beach, a parent discovered a school resource officer's gun in faculty bathroom. During a 2-day period in March of 2018, a school police officer in Virginia accidentally fired his gun through a middle school classroom wall. A teacher in California demonstrating firearm safety mistakenly fired a round through the ceiling, injuring 3 students who were hit by falling debris. And a deputy in Michigan school left a loaded service weapon in a middle school locker room where a 6th grader found it. More recently, a New York armed security guard left the gun on a bathroom counter of a junior high school, and an Arkansas school resource officer left the gun in an elementary bathroom. And who can forget that Bluentsville, Alabama, a substitute teacher discharged his concealed carry weapon that was in his pocket in a 1st grade classroom. And the danger does not always come from mistakes. This year in Manatee County, a school guardian was fired after discovery that his social media page had a picture of a SWAT helmet with a bullet hole in it and captioning encouraging resisting arrest and murdering law enforcement.
Ms. Ledger, can you
Yes.
kind of wrap it up?
I'm sorry. Yes, thanks. I apologize. With stories like these, so common, why would we arm school teachers? Students don't want this, teachers don't want this, and parents don't want this. Please do not allow our teachers to be armed in Osceola. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McMillan, Dolores McMillan.
Good evening. To Superintendent Pace and to our very fine students of Osceola County. These young people are not necessarily our future, they are our now citizens. And I encourage you students, now that you are at the age of voting, to vote, because you are the change that we seek. I'm here, Dolores McMillan, at 2781 Michigan Avenue, Kissimmee, Florida. I'm a retired educator, retired principal, and the president of Osceola County NAACP. As I was trained, the older administrators were trained to be proactive with school situations. The idea of arming teachers to carry weapons in the classroom and on campus is absurd and misguided. We know that often children of color are portrayed and seen as more dangerous than other students. Already, the percentage of in-school and out-of-school suspension is higher. How can parents feel comfortable sending their children to school where guns are abound and the perception of threat could have deadly consequences? Can one imagine telling a parent that their child has been shot in school, not by an intruder, but by a teacher or staff member who felt threatened by them? Instead of investing $500 million to make our schools an armed campus, the NAACP calls for Floridians and politicians to embrace sane gun laws and reforms that make our communities and schools safer. This means universal background checks or any gun sales, or transfer and banning military style and semi-automatic assault weapons. We as a nation must act and ask ourselves whether the few have the power to make our communities unsafe despite the will of the majority. The President of the United States wants to give teachers a bonus to be trained to carry guns when teachers are not given enough money for school supplies or even their salaries. Florida schools, Osceola County School District, have a shortage of teachers already. Carrying guns in the classroom will deter those who are really interested and love teaching. Teachers are taught and trained to educate students in a safe and orderly environment. Learning in an safe environment not to contribute to causing more threat to school safety. I urge the school board to vote against teachers and staff carrying guns. And as a principal, I gave my resource officers an opportunity to teach students in the classroom. It put the resource officers in the classroom to address school safety as well as peer pressure. Thank you.
Ms. Jackson.
April Jackson, 722 Mabbott Street, Kissimmee, Florida, President of the Osceola County Education Association. I, as well as Mr. Weshire, spent a lot of time in Tallahassee this year and sat in on the hearings for Senate Bill 70. It broke my heart to sit there and listen to many of the senators.
You're probably leaning on the lights.
Didn't do it.
No, not you, in the back. Sorry.
They made amendment after amendment to this bill so teachers wouldn't be armed, and the makers of the bill turned it down overwhelmingly. We did a survey in the state through the Florida Education Association, and 80% of the teachers in this scientific survey said teachers do not want to be armed. Osceola County did their own survey, and 68% of our teachers responded they did not want to be armed. Arming teachers is doing security on the cheap. This puts teachers in a bad situation. There's no liability insurance that's going to cover a teacher who's armed in the classroom. It's a lose-lose for the teacher. If there's an armed shooter on the campus, do you stay and protect your students, or you go after the shooter? Regardless of your decision, it's the wrong one. No employee should be given or forced to make that choice to protect their students or to go after a shooter. I would give my life for every one of my students. My students knew that I was there for them every day, whether they were sitting in my classroom or not. I would never have thought of carrying a weapon on school. More often than not, the shooters are former students. I couldn't shoot a former student, whether they were shooting at me or not. They are my children. I could not harm them. Teachers by nature want to help children, not shoot them. There are issues with higher risk of accidents. This is not a Second Amendment issue. There are appropriate places for guns, and that is not in our classrooms, whether it's a public school, charter school, or a private school. Let teachers teach. Let law enforcement officers or trained security handle security. On a side note, OCA has told their members that they will not be covered with our liability insurance if they were to carry a gun at school. And I'm fairly certain that the district's liability insurance would also not cover any employee who goes after someone with a gun and someone is injured. Please do not consider arming anyone at our public schools or our charter schools. Thank you.
And that concludes the last portion of the public comment section. We will be discussing this a little bit further down the agenda, and it won't be too long before we get there. I do just have 2 comments to make, because I'm sure some of you may leave now. We currently have a school board rule that does not allow guns on campus. That has not been changed. I don't think there's any distinction.
We did not discuss changing it today either.
We did not discuss changing it. So that is in place. For that rule to be changed, and it would require 2 public hearings in front of the board, in public, with public input and public discussion, for guns to be allowed on campus by anybody other than a sworn officer, which is what we currently have. The other thing is, we had a workshop on this morning with law enforcement, and maybe I took this wrong, seeing a lot of the comments were that we wanted guns in school. I think as a consensus by this board this morning, that was not the case at all. I believe this board feels the same way many of you do on pieces of this discussion. So we didn't start out coming to this with a discussion of let's arm teachers. So just so you know where we're coming from and some background. Again, we'll have more discussion on this as we move on.
Can I say one
right
thing,
now,
Mr. Thacker?
Okay, go ahead.
Just really quick. Please do remember, we had a board meeting on May 7th. The governor signed this bill into law on May 8th. Is that correct? This is our first board meeting. This board meeting had already been changed earlier in the day because of graduations. It was not changed because of anything that happened with this. But we do have to act quickly on this because there's certain variables, and we do have to act quickly. So certainly, I think this board has always taken pride in being transparent with the public and putting things out there. But this just happens to be one of those unfortunate situations where we do have to move quickly to get something put in
place for
put in
school
place.
start.
Yep.
With that, let's go back to the regular agenda. It brings us to the agenda modification portion. We kind of already did one of those. But,
yeah.
So
we didn't do the whole.
Are there any other further agenda modifications? Dr. Pace? Not. I'll entertain a motion on the agenda and the consent items.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishauer with a second by Mr. Booth to approve the agenda and the consent items. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to the informational items on the agenda. There are 4 items, board. They are in our packets for information. Does anybody have any questions or comments on those? If not, we'll move on from those to our regular agenda. First on our agenda is item 12.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve item 12.01.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishauer with a second by Ms. Castillo to approve item 12.01. Board, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item 13.01.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Booth with a second by Mr. Soto to approve item 13.01. Board, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve item 14.05.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishauer with a second by Ms. Castillo.
I do have a question.
Okay, to approve item 14.05. Mr. Booth, you have a question?
Mr. Krummelbacher, being that I have several family members within the district, I'm not required to abstain on this one, am I?
No, sir.
Okay.
They do not report to you.
Thank you.
Any other further comments or questions? Hearing none, I have a motion by Mr. Wasser, second by Ms. Castillo to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. And I'm sorry, does anybody have a bottle of water? Thank you.
You don't want to drink after me, but there's some in there.
Thank you.
It's unopened.
Thank you. Item 15, we already did. It moves us to item 16.
Mr. Thacker, 1503.
No.
No.
We did them individually, so it covers it, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
Chairman, I would make a motion to approve item 16.03.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishauer with a second by Mr. Booth to approve, item 16.03. Any further discussion, comments?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item 17.01.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Booth with a second by Mr. Weishauer to approve item 17.01. Board, any further comments, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. I told you we'd get here quickly.
They all left anyway.
That's right. That's
Where are
right.
they?
I believe, let's see where I'm at here. Mr. Kreppenbacher, do you have any comments?
Just members of the board, Mr. Boyd and I are in the final stages of culminating our security review. We will be meeting with Special Counsel Warren Lindsay regarding the grand jury, talking with Tallahassee Counsel on the matter, and then reviewing everything with Dr. Pace and asking the chairman to schedule a closed meeting on safety to review with you in detail the status of everything regarding security.
Thank you. Okay. Dr. Pace? Okay, that brings us to our unfinished business, which is school safety. One thing I did want to comment on a minute ago, now that everybody's gone, it's kind of useless, but I wanted, particularly when the students come to the board and speak, y'all, all the students who spoke today did an outstanding job. You were poised, you were well thought out, your delivery was outstanding, and that was everybody that spoke on this issue, but especially the students. It's tough to be able to stand up here and do that. We understand that, but you did a great job. And you did what you should do. Come and express your opinion, so thank you for doing that.
Mr. Chairman, regarding item 20.01, I'll make a motion that the Osceola County School Board continue to use school resource officers in the 2019-20 school year at all the district-run schools, that we continue to maintain School Board Policy 6.97, which has to do with weapons on campus, which precludes them from being in the hands of any employees aside from those in law enforcement, that we would authorize the superintendent to move forward with execution of the agreements with the school resource officers for the 2019-20 school year, that we would allow charter school boards to make the decision as they see fit at their school in regard to Senate Bill 7030 as presented by the legislature, that we further encourage charter schools to utilize school resource officers at all schools in the county, and that we encourage the county and the city to provide the same level of funding for public charter schools as they do for traditional public schools.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Weishauer with a second by Mr. Booth. Anybody have any comments? Because I have a question of council. Mr. Kreppenbacher, in his motion, I think it's covered, but I want to make sure that it is covered. We have a school district employee or two who are sworn reserve deputies within the sheriff's department. Are they covered by his statement of sworn officers carrying gun in the school?
Yes, Mr. Weishauer got with me, and in order to make sure they were protected under the existing policy, I don't think your policy can take away the law enforcement officer's right.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
We need them to have that to be able to do what they do.
Either.
No, and great clarification, and it is specified within our existing school board policy as well.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was there. I just want to make sure we were good. Board, any further comments?
Yep. I had
Oh,
some.
Mr. Booth, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do appreciate everybody coming forward today. After hearing a bunch of the comments, I understand you probably didn't get to watch the workshop because many of those questions were answered. I mean, since I've been on this board, I've supported an SRO at every school. That's what I've wanted to see at every school. Last year, we were forced to do that, which I was glad that finally happened. But I'm going to tell you what, we could not do that without the help of our county commission and our city councils and city commission in Kissimmee, city council in St. Cloud. So I thank them this morning, and I want to thank them again for doing that, because we pay part and they pay part. And if you go around this state, look, I have a firm belief that having an SRO in every school is the best way to go. But I can tell you, if you go around to some of the municipalities and counties around this state, they did not help their school districts out. Not all of them did, and left their school districts hanging. I know I did an interview earlier today where I told the interviewer, I said that's the best thing to come out of this, is that people can see that we have a community that believes in the safety and security of the children at their schools. And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone here knows that we, the school board, especially, I will speak on behalf of myself, but I'm sure you guys agree, that we thank the county commission and the St. Cloud City Council and the St. Cloud City Commission.
And I want to tell you, financially, I don't know how the school district could fund all of it. We fund less than 50% of it, I believe, the cities and the county. They were here today. They have budget questions coming up in the next 2 to 3 months. I think y'all did a great job of coming and speaking us and sharing those views. Again, we foot 50% of the bill, maybe a little bit less. We have no choice. I mean, we would do this. We have to do this regardless. Schools, student safety, staff safety is number one. But there are some options there. So when you see your city commissioners, county commissioners, wherever you happen to live, your sheriff, your police chief, your policeman, your deputy sheriffs, and your city and county managers, don't be afraid to, even if you just pass them in the street, to give them a little, the 30-second elevator speech of why you view this as important and why you view their support and continued support of this program important to the students and staff in our district. It never hurts to say thank you, and it never hurts for them to hear some of the stories that we all heard tonight. So, anything else?
I just want to clarify, Mr. Kroppenbacher. So, Rule 6.79 of our current school rules effectively would ban our teachers from carrying weapons because we already have it written in our rules. Is that correct?
Yes, it would ban any employee with the exception of a law enforcement officer who we have approved.
So not just our educators, but anyone who works at our schools?
Bus drivers, anyone. Anybody. And I think we only have one approved law enforcement officer who heads our entire security effort.
Thank you.
Carries it.
Yeah, and for clarification for everyone's benefit, School Board Rule 6.97 starts off by saying the school board prohibits all employees from possessing, storing, making, or using a weapon, including a concealed weapon, on school board property, and goes on from there. So I understand some of you may have come in here tonight misled, thinking that we were going to go in a different direction of existing school board policy, but this has been standing policy of the school board for a very, very long time.
And to Mr. Kroppenbacher, sorry, Chairman, is that okay? So to go to ultimately any school district that have this policy in place, to go to a guardian program, would have to go through the rule making.
You'd have to do 2 hurdles. You'd have to go through 2 public hearings to repeal the rule.
And I say that for the public,
right.
So you know that we can't just have a meeting and have a guardian program the next day. You would have to go through the whole rulemaking.
You'd have to go through 2 public hearings to repeal that rule, then 2 public hearings to adopt whatever rule you were going to adopt, or at least 1 hearing, public meeting like this, to approve after you repealed it whatever you were going to do.
So there would be ample time for public input and public comment.
It can't change in 1 meeting overnight with nobody knowing.
And we're certainly not doing anything different tomorrow than we've been doing the last year.
I just have one more, actually 3 more points of discussion regarding the charter schools. Just because we are voting on that, I want to be clear, not just for myself, but for the public as well. Charter schools currently fund their own SROs, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, they have their own individual arrangements with the city, the county, and the both cities and the county.
Okay. And so by adopting the current motion, giving them autonomy to make their own decisions, they could very well choose to continue using SROs. Obviously. Would encourage them, of course. With now, the opposite of that would be if we were to mandate our choice, which our choice clearly is that we want to stay with our status quo, which is to have SROs in every school, then that would mean that we would have to assist them in the...
Yes, under the current bill, we would begin to have to spend money for the charter schools that we have not previously. So the board is staying very consistent in keeping the autonomy and independence of the charter school boards and following the law the way the legislature has really fundamentally asked for it. Now, in this morning's meeting, if you'll remember, the board, the two police cities, and the sheriff all agreed afterwards, so you know, that we would do a joint letter of the school board, the two police departments, and the sheriff's department to every charter school explaining why all of those agencies believe it's so important that they keep an SRO.
Okay. And one more point. If they were to not abide by the 70-30, right, by the rules that have been put into place, we do have the option of oversight of that? Is that what I heard in the workshop today?
Yes. What I will
Okay.
tell you is if they do not comply with that law, and we are made aware of it, we are expected to take immediate action, and they either immediately comply or we are expected to revoke that charter.
Yeah, and then for the benefit of the public as well, bear in mind every charter school has a school board or a governing board, just like we have a board for the district. And so each parent or student at that school has an opportunity to address their school board at that particular school to have further conversations about what policies would be in place. If for some reason a charter school made a decision to go in a direction that was different than the direction that this board has supported and continuing to go in, then at that point in time, a parent would have an option to say, I don't want my child at that school any longer, and re-enroll them in a district school. So there are plenty of options for parents to be exercised as a result of this as well.
Right.
100%.
Mr. Soto, everybody good?
I don't think I can add to any of this.
Okay.
I mean, other than to say that, this board agrees with the wisdom of, the folks that came to speak here tonight and during the workshop. There's a lot of reasons, even some that were not stated, as to why allowing firearms into our classrooms is just a bad idea. And so, why are we going to adopt a bad idea? So we're not.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. Weishauer with a second by Mr. Booth on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 5-0. Board brings us to board member comments. Anybody have any comments, or we commented out?
I think we're commented out.
Yeah. Mr. Soto, Mr. Booth.
Just a quick reminder that we do have the Florida School Boards Association Conference coming up. Look forward to you guys participating in that. As you know, that'll be the meeting where I get sworn in as president for the state of Florida. Appreciate your support.
We will be there, or I'll be there. So, and we have a Zenith graduation tonight, which the superintendent is spurring us on. So with that, we will stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.